Hey there, world. It's your girl, Miss LSG, welcoming you to another Raw Talk Zone. And as you can see, I got a very special guest with me today. This is my poppy, my everything, the Mr. and the Mrs. LSG. So, how are you, baby?
I'm doing just fine. Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey. Now, so let me tell you what we're doing first, because as you know, this is a little bit something different if you read the title in terms of what Miss LSG usually does on Raw Talk Zone. But my pappy and I together thought it would be really interesting just to do something, just a little short something, nothing all long and drawn out. And let me give us our disclaimer too. We're only giving some tips and things. Everything don't work for everybody. But we're just giving some tips and things based on our own personal experience and things that we are still working on learning. So this whole thing with marriage and understanding and knowing the worth of your spouse is imperative for a number of reasons. But before I continue to just keep chiming in, Poppy, you want to elaborate a little bit? Like, so when we say that knowing the worth of your spouse, knowing and understanding it, right? Because it's one thing to try to know something, but you got to understand it. So just elaborate a little bit in terms of like what that means.
Well, we'll start off with saying, communication is key and knowing, what your spouse like. A good thing what we learned about love language. We'll know what they don't like. It could be something small as taking for granted. Your spouse might think, oh, you know what I'm thinking already, or she might think, or he know what he's thinking already. And a lot of times we don't, and that can create problems or chaos in the marriage also. And different things, but basically just communicating, talking to each other, knowing, don't take for granted that, oh, she might know what I'm thinking or he might know what I'm thinking,
Right.
Type of thing.
Right. Absolutely. And we tend to do that a lot, making those, those accusations and what I like to refer to as false expectations sometimes, because you think, especially if you've been with somebody for a while, you really think like, oh, well, right. That person, and not saying that you don't, but just it's still just important to be able to check in.
Right. Now that's what I said. That's a huge thing for me, definitely. Being a communicator, especially with you, you talk a lot or know a lot, or sometimes you might be like, oh, well, he know what I'm thinking, or I think that, or she might know what I'm thinking, and then it could be a whole different thing. But after we've been together for a long time, a lot of stuff we do know we're thinking, but just don't want to take for granted of that. 50% of the time we probably be right, but the 50% that you're wrong, right, could be,
that's when the problem's gonna
right?
be.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, the importance of being able to know the worth and understanding the worth of your spouse. Now, I know you guys are like, well, you should know that before you get into a marriage with somebody. So absolutely you should. So for those of you who are thinking that, that's definitely 100, because you don't want to be connected in, with somebody that you haven't gotten to know, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses, because none of us are perfect. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The old saying is, you got to have some standards, because if you don't have something to stand on, you will fall for anything, right? So, based on that, yes, you should have already did that inventory before asking somebody to spend the rest of their lives with you. Were you gonna say something?
But it ain't always like that though. So it's not always perfect. Somebody, you could meet each other and fall in love immediately and still learn as you guys are going. Oh, so sure. It don't have to just always, that you have to know that. That's the way I look at it, because you could, not that you have to, but it's good to learn as you're going, as knowing at the same time.
Oh, for sure. Well. Oh yeah, absolutely. And because we're gonna change, right? Because we got together, it's 20 years ago. So we were in our mid, going into late 20s. And so are we the same that we were then, being in our mid 40s? Like, absolutely not. Like, and I would hope that nobody like technically would be, not even making that a bad thing, but we're supposed to grow. So you don't want to just be like, oh, well, this is how you was when I got you or met you or what,
That's what I was about to say. Far as us, that's really a good thing that you said, because one thing that people think, because we know when you're together, your boyfriend, girlfriend, then all of a sudden you get married. Someone that's been married for a long time told us this, that I forgot who told us that. I think it was a couple that was married for like 50-something years. We went to their thing and they was giving us some advice. But they were saying, married, just because you get married, that don't mean that they have to the person have to change, and be somebody different. You can still be yourself, but you got to learn how to change and be somebody different versus, or be married now. You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way because you're married. That's not a good thing either. You learn as you go and elevate and grow as your relationship grows.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. Absolutely. So, like, with that being said, you kind of know the foundation of the strengths and weaknesses that your partner has. Because again, like my hubby said, and nobody's perfect. None of us got it all figured out. I don't care. Even the couple that he's speaking of that have been married for the 50 something years are still learning each other. Like you just, it's a constant thing, and it should be. Which is why the communication part is so important. Because if you don't check in, I mean, just think about the analogy of like our health. Like every so often, hopefully you're going to the doctor for your yearly, exam or whatever that looks like, because you want to get a checkup. Not that anything's wrong, but you're getting a checkup to make sure everything is still all right. And we got to do the same thing in our marriages. But to the point of knowing the value and understanding, or not the value, I'm sorry, but the worth and understanding of your spouse really comes into play too. If you guys remember back in May, you may or may not have saw the live. Actually, I didn't even do live. I think I just made a post about marriage and the analogy that we look at marriage from, which is from a business perspective. And when you're running a business, you have certain people on your team, you got certain roles and things of that nature that have to be played out. So in the post that I made, I mentioned that how he's the CEO. This is just like, we actually do have a business called Gilbert Enterprises. So Gilbert Enterprises, and he is actually the CEO of Gilbert Enterprises, and I'm the COO. And so for those of you who don't know what those acronyms mean, I mean, he's the chief executive officer. He gets to say, hey, this is what it is. This is how I need it to be. And then I got to get that information from him, and pray on it and do whatever I have to do, because then it's my job as the operations officer to put that thing in operations. And so with the business, obviously that's based upon the mission, purpose, and all of that. But it's the same thing in our marriage. It's the same thing us raising our children and now grandchildren, and creating the foundation of what is the mission of the Gilberts, right? And so being focused and tuned in on that. So it's important for me and him to know, well, I know where my wife is strong at. I even know what some of her weaknesses are. So when you're putting your team together, you're not going to put somebody who has great, let's just say this. You're not going to put somebody who has a lack of administration skills over administration.
Right. Right.
Like, why would you do that? And that person has no clue what to do there. But that person might be great in marketing, right? So you need to know, this is why you got to know the worth and like the roles, right? So you got to know. Yeah.
Everybody can't be the starting player. Everybody can't be the point guard, the shooting guard, the same thing as you can look at it as sports, as just even like a business, like you said. That's how we do ours with our family. We look at it like a business, and everybody can pick it the way that they want to use it, or how they want to use it, have to do it the way that the Gilberts do it. But we're just giving you a way that we do it.
Yeah. Just a perspective to see it from. And so with that being said, if you are a business owner or entrepreneur, or know someone who is, well, then in order to grow your business, well, there are certain things that you have to do. McDonald's hasn't been in business for the number of years that it's been in business because it kept doing the same thing that it was doing when it started. Right. You know what I mean? Like it kept some of its foundation, but yet it had to build on top of what and then had to do away with some things too. And that's a whole nother conversation. But, sometimes we get married, and I think my hubby just said a little bit ago, well, this is how I was, when I got with you, and this don't mean I have to change. It's not necessarily like changing who you are as an individual, but sometimes we do have to change the way we do things. Like, why? Because before we became one, he was him, I was me, I was doing me, he was doing him, but you got to learn how to do life together. Because marriage works if you work it.
If you work it, that's correct. And changing your behaviors helps also.
Yeah.
You know, that's key.
Ooh, yes,
So
y'all.
that'd be another conversation, probably.
It sure will be. Yes. And I'm just getting a little tickled with some things because, as I said, we're still a work in progress. So we're not doing this because we got it all figured out. Absolutely not. One of the biggest reasons that we thought this would be helpful is because there are so many individuals, our generation and definitely younger individual generations who just don't value marriage anymore. Like it's just not the thing to do anymore. Everybody's out here for themselves, or they cool being, well, if I'm the main girl or like whatever that is, I don't even know what that is. Because if I ain't the only one, I ain't no one. So I don't know nothing about that other lifestyle. But of course, we were single before we were married, and we really didn't know how to be married either. Sure. But you got to be willing to learn. Same thing if you're gonna open up a business. You've never been a business owner before, so you're gonna have to do some things. You might have to go to school and learn about business. You're gonna have to do some webinars, some professional development to learn how to to run the operations of what you're trying to do.
There's gonna be some ups and downs. There's gonna be some happy and sad. There's gonna be a roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure.
So you got to be prepared for that also.
Absolutely.
But,
yeah. So just really wanted to be basically serving just as transparent, true individuals of encouragement, right? Because there's not a lot of people who are willing to be transparent about a lot of things. So everybody want to paint the picture like everything is, strawberries and whipped cream. You know what I mean? And yeah, when it's good, it's good. But sometimes when it's bad, it's bad.
Well, it's gonna get bad.
Yeah.
Everything ain't, because I don't think that. Me and myself, we say together. If you agreeing with everything, somebody being fake, something ain't real. That's just what it is. You're supposed to have some disagreements. I mean, stir the pot up a little bit.
Right.
Throw something in there just to make sure that we're on the same page.
Right. Check the stats.
Yes,
as they say.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Our pastor says something that is so real for me. He always says that confrontation, some of us try to avoid it because you just don't want it. He's like, man, I don't feel like arguing. But confrontation is an opportunity for growth. You know what I mean? Because just like you were saying, something's got to not always, be agreeable, or not agreeable, but you agreeing on every single thing. Because then when that confrontation comes, guess what? That's an opportunity for us to have a conversation. That's an opportunity for me to get a better understanding of why he didn't agree with something, or why I didn't agree with something, or why something is important to him that maybe I didn't know that's how he felt. So that's that time where it kicks in, and you got to learn how to just put your big pants on, and you got to be a big girl, got to be a big boy, and we might share some tears because my feelings was hurt, or whatever. But we have to have that conversation, because rather have the conversation and get your feelings out than to hold that stuff in. Because
like everybody knows, nobody like change.
Right.
But I'm not gonna say nobody like change, but change is good when you can find the good in it. Absolutely. We came a long way to be able to be sitting right here talking for both of us. I'm not gonna point the finger at no one, but yeah. I think that, and we want to just share that back with some other people that might be listening, or they might be able to get something out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the things that, everybody has it. Well, if you have a vision of marriage, because again, going back to the point of us doing this, not a lot of people are even thinking about getting married anymore. They just like for what? I mean, I've heard some people say it ain't nothing but a piece of paper. So, and it's just like, wow, like, man, but when you really learn the truths of, God's intention, and his design, which, what we're all needing to get back to, because that's how the world should really be operating. But, that's a whole nother something. And we understand,
And that special covenant that God has over the marriage is awesome. Oh, also. Yeah. That's something that we learned.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. He got his hand on us. Yes, Lord. He is the third cord for sure. Because as my husband said, it can get tough. And sometimes you might be thinking to yourself, like, I'm on this throwing a towel. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to quit and walk away. Yeah, it's easy to fold.
But that's where you got to find out the winner that's in you, and use it for the both of you, because we are winners in our own way.
Oh, for sure.
You don't have to be, a loser or throw the towel in or be a quitter.
Right. And don't even look at it like, oh, who's winning or losing, because nobody should ever lose, because the object is, if you're going to go through something, you learn something, right? One of my favorite, my little personal quotes that I live for is that if I'm going to go through it, I'm gonna grow through it, right? So I'm gonna get something out of it. I'm not just going through this just to be going through this and then think I'm gonna go through the motions and not get anything out of it. Like if you're gonna go through something, grow through it. So then you can can know how to serve when the next issue come up, because there's gonna be another one. So you learn how to improve in your communication skills. One of the things that I had to learn, just being wide open, that I had to learn in terms of like communicating was like, number one, asking him, hey, can we communicate? I didn't understand that in the beginning. Because if I got something to say, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and whatever, and that just kind of ruins the whole. Like, you can't have no conversation with nobody if you coming off all crazy, you popping off, you cursing.
There's a time and place for it all, because and we'll get to that part too. But that you're definitely correct about that, because sometimes the other person might not be ready to talk or don't want to talk right now, and it's probably good to wait.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So again, going back to that business analogy, sometimes you got to call an immediate meeting, but oftentimes you schedule those meetings. You say, okay, we're going to cover that. Let me write that down, because we're going to cover that at the next supervision meeting, or we're going to cover that at the next, team meeting, or whatever the meeting is.
The CEO and the COO might talk before they go and talk to the rest of the team.
Exactly.
Same thing as we might talk before we go talk to our children.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, because if we ain't on the same page and your kids can see that, oh man, they like, daddy don't even know what mama said. So yeah, let's just ask him. We gonna go anyway. They gonna run game on you, right? Just like your employees will too. If you operate in the business, your drawers might be coming up short, because they like, oh, they ain't got nobody counting this money. Ain't no cameras in here. So yeah, for sure. But we're not gonna keep you guys long. We kind of went off the topic straight away just a little bit, but it's all relevant. It all brings it back together of just being able to know and understanding the worth of my spouse, so that you can make each other feel valued. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know, I'm gonna say this real quick, and I know a lot of us women, we're raised up to believe that, well, I don't need no man, I got, and nobody's really saying nobody needs anybody, right? But if you truly want something, then you gotta be willing to put in some work. Like, even faith without works is dead. You know what I'm saying? It's just not gonna happen just that easy. And the sad thing is, most of us have been in previous relationships, and we done gave more in previous dating relationships than some people are willing to really invest in their marriage, which is supposed to be a lifetime of something. And that's definitely a whole nother conversation. But just wrapping it up, I just wanted to say this to my ladies. If you are, thinking about getting married, maybe you are engaged to be married, or maybe you were just married, so you're a newlywed, it's important for us to make sure that our husbands know that we do need them. I'm a very independent woman. And and he knew that about me even during our dating, and that was something that I had to learn too, just being transparent. But at the same time, I need my husband to know that I need you. You know what I mean? And there's things that I can do, but because I have you, I don't have to no more.
That's good. That's a good thing. And for those other people, like you said, wrapping it up for the guys, make sure that you're listening to your wife, and you don't have to be a bully, or say it's going your way just because you the head, or you the man. You don't listen to what your wife has to offer also. And think things through and help make those decisions together still. Because sometimes I'm not gonna say that, but I'm just gonna say sometimes being the man, you say, well, I'm the man, it's gonna go this way. You still could do that, but you could do it in a special way, but taking your spouse feelings into consideration. That's really something I really had to learn. And then I want to say this too before we done. So people that want to join for next week, email us, set a time up for next week, Monday, where you can buzz in, chime in, and say some things that you might want to say, or share with other couples that's been married for a while, or newlyweds, or however.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are certainly inviting anyone's feedback. If you even have questions and you like, I would like to ask something because I am a newlywed, and because it take a minute to get that thing figured out, baby. Oh yeah, it'd be sweet in that little honeymoon thing, but then when stuff start getting real, and you might be feeling like, I don't know if this is what I signed up for. I didn't think it was going to be, so if you do have questions, you can definitely contact us. You can email us at dandlgilbert@gmail.com. I will put that information up on the screen so it'll run for you guys who are interested. And like my husband said, we are looking for other individuals to even join us on this platform. So maybe you want to be one of our special guests and come on here and let's just kick it. You know what I mean? And just be real and encourage one another and empower each other. Because we didn't come this far to turn back now. So, and sometimes you just need somebody else to be accountability partner, somebody else to just, you know, be like, give some hope when you need to have some hope. So you guys can email us too, again, at dnlgilbert@gmail.com. It's been real. We're going to sign off. We hope to hear from you. Yeah, we'll be doing this every Monday. So Marriage Mondays Raw Talk is what this is going to be. So just keep in tune. You can definitely catch us on the Anchor or Spotify and all of the different channels for the actual podcast of it. If you just want to listen in while you on your commute or way to work or way home from work or whatever. Or if you want to catch the video, then you can definitely do so at the YouTube channel under Miss LSG, Life Lessons with Lakeisha, all on TikTok, Instagram. Y'all know that. Facebook. It's all out there, all under Miss LSG. So go ahead, tune in, drop some comments, share some feedback, and we'll be looking to connect with you next time. So until then, we out. Peace. Okay.